got a psychological problem with women.
We're gonna be hearing that one a lot today. Hello! Hi, everybody. Oh, I didn't move my microphone. Hold up. There we go. Hi. Hello. How you doing? Hi. I actually need to add a source for you guys so you guys can see it. Let me just do that real quick. Window capture. Cool. Thanks. New source. I'm just gonna call this video. So I actually cut calculator. That's not what I want. Where's the thing I want? That's not it. Macro button. That's not. Where's my video? What are you called? It's just called films. Why? Ugh, this is sad. It doesn't show up. Macro button. No, it's not happy. It's not happy about this. Okay, well, fine. Cancel that. Get out of here. Get out of here. We'll just do a display capture so that way you guys can see. If it's gonna be like that. Rude. Honestly, I thought I'd just be able to pull it up and it would. Oh, maybe it needs to be a media source. Oh, whatever. I'll just do a display capture. You guys will get to see my whole display. Boop. There you go. Look, it's you. Say hi. What? I shouldn't be muted. Am I muted? I see my audio going through. Let's just do this. I pre-edited this so that way we wouldn't have to like go to the original video, just to make life a little bit easier. There we go. And let's put him behind because he's in the way. There we go. Just use the calculator to... Right? There we go. I don't think anything goes on the screen that isn't in the middle, so you just cut off the sides, it doesn't matter. I pre-edited... You can hear me? Okay, cool. Okay. Guys, you're freaking me out. Stop it. I actually got my earrings in for once. I'm missing one. That's it. And that's only because I can't get I'm having trouble getting a hoop through this one because it's pierced on an angle. I got my fancy Team Rocket shirt on. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Team Rocket up in this shit. I am a mess this morning and I'm happy about it. I like it. I appreciate it. I enjoy being a mess some days, and no shirt gobbo is for member-only streams. I am putting together a video of Puck that is going to be members only, and it's going to be a Puck petting simulator. So it's basically POV petting Puck. Become a member if you want to pet Puck. Virtually. Okay. So this is, for any of you who don't recognize the face, this is the quartering. I'm not really interested in talking about him because I don't care. His video the video that I'm talking about this time is over 3 years old, so I don't know if this guy's views are still the same. I don't know if it's changed in 3 years. I know that the video randomly came across my feed, and I was like, this is dumb. So I kind of cut out, the video is actually 15 minutes long. I cut it down to 8 minutes and kind of just pulled out some of the rambly bits that I didn't care about. Because I didn't care about them. I just didn't care. So you have to give me a moment while my brain finishes doing brain things. I hope you also enjoy my new soundboard. Please let me know if you guys can hear this, because I need this as a quick test. So, 1 in the chat if you hear this.
Got a psychological problem with women.
You guys let me know. I am drinking Earl Grey off the shelf from the grocery store. Nothing fancy. There it is. Okay. Let's see. His video is initially 17 minutes and 24 seconds long. It has 143,788 views. It's from January of 2018. The channel itself, The Quartering, has 1.06 million subscribers. This video has 4.5k upvotes and 3.2k downvotes. That's an oof. It has over 2,000 comments on it, and a lot of them, a lot of the people are super salty about this video. It's originally titled "D&D Creator Claims Women Are Too Stupid to Play." So, the reason why I have this this little clip ready for us right now,
Got a psychological problem with women.
because I think we're gonna be running into this a little bit, maybe. Oh, there was dead air because I paused. I waited. So, needless to say, this guy seemed to have gotten his shit kicked in on his own video, on his own channel. Like, I don't know if there were any response videos to this 3 years ago, but the comment section and the like to dislike ratio seemed to kick his ass. So, let's, yeah, I'm keeping that one. That one's staying with me forever. Kind of my soundboard. So let's see what The Quartering has to say. Again, I'm not terribly interested in him. I'm more interested in the argument and what he's trying to say. So let's take a look-see.
Of Dungeons and Dragons, specifically 5th edition, as well as the franchise creative director, Mike Merrills, issued a very inflammatory tweet. Most people that...
Yeah. A very inflammatory tweet. Now, you're gonna enjoy the length of time it takes for him to actually finally show the tweet. So just remember, it's inflammatory. That's the important part.
Play D&D that I've talked to have basically stopped purchasing new books and have told me that the social justice slant that I so greatly oppose in Magic the Gathering has been infecting Dungeons and Dragons for many more years. And Mike...
Okay. SJW slant to Dungeons and Dragons. Like, as in the game. Oh, his audio's a little low. I will turn him up for you. There you go. That should be a little bit better. He's essentially saying that he hates SJW stuff. I mean, I can relate. And that it's affecting D&D, and he's been being told by people that play, allegedly. I love this allegedly nonsense. He's being told by people that SJW nonsense has been infecting D&D for a very long period of time. I have no idea what they're talking about. Here's the thing. People who play Dungeons and Dragons and people who make Dungeons and Dragons isn't Dungeons and Dragons. They are not Dungeons and Dragons. One of the wonderful things about D&D is you can make it whatever you want it to be. So if you want your game to have like a high racism slant to it where, I don't know, maybe everyone hates humans, or maybe everyone hates halflings, or maybe everyone always hates goblins all the time and they're basically slaves, you could run a game like that if everybody at the table agrees to that. You can have a bunch of people who are racists playing Dungeons and Dragons who decide to be racist against whatever race. that's a thing you can do. It is a running joke that elves are kind of a little bit xenophobic towards everybody who isn't an elf, depending on what, like, particularly high elves. But it's not meant to be real life. You can make a real life, realistic game if you want to, but the game itself doesn't have any SJW rules in it. Like what? Oh, everybody always likes each other? No. Oh, everybody hates this type of behavior? No. You can be anything you want in Dungeons and Dragons, so to say that the game is suffering from SJW-isms, I think is a little bit ridiculous. Now, to say that, oh, maybe there's people within the community that have SJW tendencies, and the reason I say tendencies is because a lot of the ideology that most SJW people push, I agree with. So, like, should everyone have equal rights? Yes. Of course they should. Should everybody be treated with respect? Should everybody be getting basic human rights? Of course they should. So I think most of us are going to be in agreement about that. The tactics that SJWs implement, like the amount of cancel culture attempts, at least, or virtue signaling, like we even see this, like people from the ACA are doing this to people in the AAI. Like they're all atheists, but no, we're gonna word police you into oblivion, like over something you never said and turn it into something it isn't. And that's what this guy is doing, in my opinion. He's taking something and trying to turn it into something it isn't. But we'll get there. To say the game is SJW is ridiculous. To say that the game is being more inclusive and trying to get more people to play their game, yeah, to make it easier to understand, to make it more accessible because it was such a niche thing for so long. Of course they are. That's a good business decision. Otherwise, what? Oh, what? Does this person hate capitalism? No, of course not. It's not what they said. So let's keep going.
Merrills made it abundantly clear that he has a problem with the majority of men in his game.
He has a problem with the majority of men in his game. Can I say for 1 minute, though, the quartering has lovely blue eyes. They're very pretty. You have very pretty blue eyes, sir, if you ever see this.
In my opinion, like someone who hates men in general, like a standard basic feminist ally.
This guy has ally in his bio on Twitter right now, by the way. I just thought I'd point that out. But again, I don't want to talk about him. Hates men like a basic feminist ally. Okay, I have some problems with this. Mostly because there's a double standard that happens here. Later on in his video, he talks about painting people with a broad brush and how it's not reasonable and you shouldn't be doing that. He then paints all feminists as man-haters at the beginning of the video. There's a whole lot of him complaining about something and then doing the thing he's complaining about. But there is a section of, or a group within feminism, I would say probably, that hijacked feminism to make it about man-hate, to make it about hating men and putting men down. That's not what feminism is or should have ever been. Feminism is about equality and equity. It's what things that are bad for women are also bad for men, and things that are bad for men are also bad for women in society. So if you've got people being attacked and they're being assaulted, and it doesn't really matter, and people aren't believing them or aren't taking them seriously, because I don't mean believe all women. Believe all women is absurd, and it's a misnomer. It's just something that was basically so what I'm looking for, it's not a slang, a sort of like a rallying cry that never meant what it turned into. What it means is listen be understanding and take it seriously. That doesn't mean, oh, blindly believe whatever this person says. And as you know, on this channel particularly, my view on that in particular, go check out when we were talking about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. But yes, there is absolutely a subset of people that have hijacked the term feminism that actively go out of their way. Their whole platform is based on hating men. Is that okay? No. But is it okay to say that all feminists hate men, or because they have an opinion about something, they are therefore a feminist who hates men? No. No, of course not. And let's keep going. This is a whole misunderstanding and representation of feminism on a whole, just to try and stir up bullshit.
D&D, just like Magic the Gathering, in my opinion, are probably more than 80% male, maybe 90%.
Okay, I'm pausing that real quick because he has a real problem with people pulling up facts and having opinions and not backing their opinions up, and he just pulled 2 numbers straight up out of his ass. Straight up out of his ass. These fucking numbers came out of nowhere.
In some cases, especially if we look at the most enfranchised players or the competitive players, when I talk about Magic the Gathering. Funny how many of those same fans...
Yeah, so he basically just pulled some numbers out of his ass to say that, well, mostly men play this game, so therefore if you say that the men are a problem, then you're saying that all of these D&D people are a problem, or whatever. It's absurd. That number is absolutely absurd. That came out of nowhere. Let's hear him read the tweet.
Who insist on gatekeeping via rules complexity and lore density also have a problem with women in tabletop gaming. Hey guys, you're all fired from D&D. Find another game.
So far he's claimed that this guy, Mike, is a feminazi who hates men because he's saying that women are too stupid to play D&D. And this is the tweet. So I'm just gonna go ahead and
Got a psychological problem with women.
God damn it. Alright. Nowhere in this tweet does it say men only are doing this. It does say hey guys, and so you could read hey guys to mean men in particular. I don't read it that way, but maybe you can. But it's also implying that he's taking that, essentially saying that these people also have a problem with women in tabletop gaming, to say that women don't gatekeep other women, which they do. Women gatekeep other women all the time. That is a thing that happens regularly. Move this over so you can see his lovely blue eyes. So, Mike Merrills is making a comparison, right? Or correlation. He's not saying it's the cause. He's not saying, he's, in his experience, this is clearly an opinion, and saying that gatekeeping via rules, complexity, and lore. So, for anybody who doesn't understand what that means, it means that if somebody comes to play your game, and you don't really want them to play, and you'll basically just say no to everything they want, and you'll give the reasoning or the excuse of the complexity of the rules or how dense your lore is. So, if somebody says, hey, I want to play a dark elf rogue, and you don't want that person in your game, you'll say, well, according to the lore that I've got running, you can't play a dark elf rogue because, you know, it's just really complicated, but it's part of the lore. And they go, oh, okay, well, what if I play a dragonborn rogue? And they go, well, you know, dragonborn are really rare, and you can't really have them in my game. It doesn't really work. It's like, okay, well, what if I want to play an Aarakocra, or I want to play a gnome rogue, and they say, well, in my game, the rules I'm using, you can't really play a rogue with that kind of character. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about making the rules complex and lore artificially to keep somebody out, to gatekeep somebody out of your game. And so he's comparing that to saying, hey, people who do this seem to be the same people who have problems with women, so they'll gatekeep a girl out of their game. This is a thing that happens. This isn't been there, done that. This is a thing that happens. This isn't like this is like more of, if anything, I take this as more of a less of an attack and more of a little bit of a giggle. Let's keep going, see what he has to say about it. Let's see how he spins that into Mike Merrill's thinks women are too stupid to play D&D, because that's where he's going. So let's see how he gets there.
Now, Mike, of course, provided no evidence of this.
And you provided so much evidence for your 90% of men are the ones who play D&D? Yeah.
Not even anecdotal. He just lied. This is, quite frankly, and very simply, no other way to put it, a lie. A ideological lie.
An ideological lie. His opinion is an ideological lie. No, no, you pulling a number out of your ass as if it's true with zero fucking evidence for it is a fucking lie. Or at least bullshit. An obvious bullshit at that. Mike Merrill's opinion about a correlation he's making isn't a lie. It could be wrong. It could be bullshit. It's not an ideological lie. That's absolute nonsense. It's not what a lie is. I mean, we've gone over on Caffeine Corner what is and is not a lie. I don't think I need to explain it to you guys, but hey, you let me know if I'm wrong.
He is an entrenched Wizards of the Coast employee. This is very common for Magic the Gathering. People that work their way to the top by hook or by crook. Now with experience, now with making a difference, but by keeping their head down and subscribing, in my opinion, to a company-wide ideology.
Okay, so I have a little bit I take a bit of an issue with it, this particular bit of nonsense. You looked him up on LinkedIn and then invented an entire story about how he came to be in the position that he's in within Wizards of the Coast to push a narrative about wizards and about D&D and about this guy. What the what are you talking about? What? This is so much nonsense. Like, how do you look up somebody on LinkedIn and invent an entire story about their life? Yes, the guy who was working on 5th edition, the guy who was part of the creative team and development team for 5th edition, he made no difference in Dungeons and Dragons at all. That's why you're complaining, right? Because he made no difference? That's because he did nothing? That's what you're complaining about? 5th edition makes Dungeons and Dragons more accessible. Particularly more accessible than 3.5. 3.5 was a bogged down, complicated mess of a game that was legitimately broken. And it broke over time. It broke because things were added to it, and added to it, and added to it, and eventually things just, well, if you put this together with this together with this together from this year, and 2 years ago, you end up with a character that's just nigh unstoppable. You have to have new additions every so often. Power creep is a thing. So, to say that somebody who helped develop 5th edition, which is essentially a happy marriage between 4th edition, which is way dumbed down, and 3.5, which was a bogged down mess, didn't make a difference, and he just kept his head down. He's like, just invent this off of his goddamn LinkedIn profile. Rez for 100, thank you, Rez, said no one said the quartering was smart. I mean, I'm trying not to talk about. I could talk about him. There are some mannerisms and some ways that he seems to go about his presentation that make me think that maybe
got a psychological problem with women.
Maybe. I don't know, but I'm not really going into too much about him in particular. It's just these things that he's saying are just absurd non sequiturs. Like, there's no way you got from. How did you get from? I looked at his LinkedIn profile to. Well, clearly he just puts his head down and makes no difference at his company and just, got up by accident to develop a game that is probably one of the the highest selling and most between Critical Role, that has a handful of fantastic women involved in that show, and like there's so many D&D shows now, and I don't even know if I can think of one off the top of my head that doesn't at least have 1 or 2 women in it. I can't. All right, let's keep going.
When I saw this earlier, there were a lot of replies of people asking for evidence. I can only assume that he's blocked them, because when I first saw this tweet, the top reply was asking for any sort of scientific evidence, any sort of surveys of the crowd. Let's see if we can find that.
When I first looked at it, it had this at the top, so he must have deleted it. The tweets were deleted. Dude, that's not how Twitter works. Even 3 years ago, that's not how Twitter works. Twitter never worked like that. You can't remove other people's tweets. Blocking somebody doesn't remove them off of a thread. Straight up, that's just not how that works. That's not how that works at all. And now I'm thinking you're lying about this. I question how little you know about Twitter to come to the conclusion that blocking somebody deleted the tweets. This seems sketchy, seems sus. That statement is sus. That you wouldn't know that. Alright, let's keep going.
See, your tweet here appears to insinuate that women are dumb.
How? The only person insinuating that women are dumb is you thinking that you can get away with saying something that absurd and trying to twist something so far that women aren't going to catch on. Let's keep going.
That women can't possibly play D&D due to rules complexity and lore density. It seems like a typical male feminist who views women as a protected class, as a gender that needs simple games and simple lore.
You notice that the one word that he left out of there was gatekeeping? People who are gatekeeping via rules complexity and lore density, as in he's not saying that the lore is too complicated or the rules are too dense. He's saying that people will use those as a means to gatekeep people out of the game. It didn't even say women. Gatekeep people out of the game. The correlation to women was, hey, the same kind of people who gatekeep people out of the game are the same kind of people who don't like women in D&D. He didn't say men are gatekeeping or men are keeping women out of D&D because the rules are too complicated. That's not what it says at all. There's like three different ways that this is just. You would have to rearrange this tweet to have it equal what he's saying. It says. I mean, it's obviously not what it says. I mean, anybody who listened to this and was like, oh yeah, no, for sure, is suffering from some serious confirmation bias and probably
got a psychological problem with women.
Alright, let's keep going.
To enjoy the game. It's pretty easy to see a correlation. Maybe not so much as a man playing the game, but trust me, it's there. As I love rules and complexities too, but I don't gatekeep. But the men who do gatekeep, the dots are easy to connect once you meet them. 70 favorites. Again, a statement backed by nothing. This is a statement of opinion.
I don't know if you know this, but a statement of opinion doesn't necessarily need to have facts backed up. You don't have to back up your opinion unless you're trying to convince other people. And so if somebody says something else and they say, well, in my experience, not only is your experience a personal experience, particularly when you're talking about sociology, which is what we're talking about, personal experience is kind of pretty much all you're going on. So if this person has experience, which they seem to imply that they do, they're not saying all men, they're saying men who do gatekeep also have this problem, not causation, but there does seem to be a consistent correlation in their experience. Whether you like it or not, their experience is evidence. Now, is it good evidence? Can you look across and see, hey, this is a consistent thing that you run into, or there's lots of experience of this, or is this a one-off, or is this person lying? Well, you can assess that. You can talk about their experience and ask them questions and learn about it a little bit more to kind of be able to suss out whether, like, how accurate it is. You can ask other people. That would be your survey thing that you're talking about. But to have them explaining to somebody that, hey, no, I've experienced this thing, this is a thing, and then just blow it the fuck off. It's like, bitch, you brought numbers to the table and didn't show shit. This person just said, hey, yeah, no, there's an easy correlation here in my experience. And you're just like, no, that's not good. Fuck you. You just expect me to believe you. Yeah, no, they don't. They didn't say that. They're also not talking to you. It's absurd.
There's enough documented stories, personal experience, and examples of gatekeeping and prejudice against women, in particular in gaming. I do not see how a survey would be more concrete than staggering and heartbreaking amount of testimonials from first-hand accounts. Notice that Adian here, who is also a dungeon master, according to his Twitter profile.
I like how he says dungeon master as if it's like some kind of like proclamation of power. It's as if somebody's presenting it as if that's meaningful outside of the D&D world. I really hope this guy has learned and gotten better in the 3 years since this video. I'm sorry.
Provides no links. Provides no evidence of personal experience, no evidence of quotes.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is Twitter. This is Twitter. This isn't a debate. You could have asked. Did anybody ask that person for, hey, can you send me links to blah blah blah? I mean, I can. There's a whole place. There's a whole subreddit called D&D horror stories. Crit Crab on YouTube. I definitely recommend checking him out. Reads and covers some of these stories and gives some opinion on how to approach things a little bit better. There are very, very many horror stories that involve women either being problematic because, believe it or not, your gender doesn't define whether you're a problematic person. Women who are absolutely batshit insane, and men who are misogynistic assholes. And when you have a game like D&D that has been male-dominated since the 80s, like for such a long, long period of time, there are going to be difficulties when you open something up to more people because it's a niche market. It's their space. They want it to be their space, and they feel victimized by it being their space. They're like, we get victimized for having this. We don't want other people to have it because, one, we're not going to be victims anymore, and two, it's our safe space. But the thing with Dungeons & Dragons is your table will always be your table. Your space that you create to play in and invite the individuals that you want to play with you will always be yours. You don't need to gatekeep via rules. You don't need to, if you don't want somebody to join your game, just say, hey, listen, I don't think you're going to be a good match. It's really not that complicated. But to say that, oh, there's enough documented stories and personal experiences and examples of gatekeeping and prejudice against women in particular in gaming, I don't see how a survey would be more concrete than the staggering and heartbreaking amount of testimonials from first-hand accounts. and say that, oh, well, you just made that up. Do Google it. It's one of those things where it's like, or ask them to provide. They weren't trying to give you, wait, so women can have toxic masculinity? Thanks for women-splaining. Yes, so women can be just as toxic, or more toxic than men. Everybody sucks. Everyone's the worst. The point is equality and equity and trying to get there as best as possible. Not I love chat. You guys kill me. At a topic question, which software do you use for streaming and editing? Okay, so right now I'm just using Slobs. I'm using Streamlabs OBS. I just recently switched to it, so hopefully it helps. This is just a video player that comes with Windows, but the editing software I use is a version of Vegas that I got off of Steam. I got it on sale, because I'm a cheap ass. I have to save all my money for more dice. Yeah, okay, so he just like poo-poos all over this as if... The thing is he started... You remember when he started, right? And he said that, well, people are telling me that they're not buying these books. And this person is saying, hey, there's lots of stories and personal experience of this, and his is okay, but this person isn't. There's a bit of a double standard going on here, methinks.
Videos, nothing. Please provide evidence. If you're going to paint the entire D&D community with this disgusting brush, you should, what's the quote? Fantastic claims require fantastic evidence.
Men being misogynistic sometimes is not a fantastic claim. What is the fantastic claim here? Listen, the guy didn't say all men playing D&D are misogynistic towards women. That was never the claim. You notice how he's made this switch, right? He's made this switch for him saying, hey, he made this inflammatory tweet to misrepresenting completely what the tweet is saying, and then based on that misrepresentation is saying that you need fantastic evidence for this fantastic claim you're making. This guy didn't make any fantastic claim. He said, hey, people who gatekeep by utilizing these things seem to be the same people who have a problem with women in gaming. It's not a fantastic thing to say that women get gatekeeped and there are prejudice against women in gaming. Has it gotten better? Has it improved? Absolutely. There was a time where I was afraid to play online games and to play any kind of online game with any voice chat. I didn't want to do it because I was just like, as soon as I speak, it's a shit show. It is an absolute shit show. I still tend to stray away from it. There are stories about how, like, a guy player called his sister over to be on voice chat while he played because just the sheer amount of salt of these men who think that they're getting their ass kicked by a girl is just incredible. This is not a fantastic thing. This is a well-known thing that's gone on and been talked about for years. You can't tell me you don't know about this. You want to talk about an ideological lie? What the fuck? Rez for 200. Aw, dice money. Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness. Rez, you fund my life. Oh. I do tabletop wargaming and a Go 25% are women in the UK. The thing is that when something that is so niche and such a small market that is dominated by one demographic for so long gets opened up to other demographics, that group of people will feel threatened because they will feel like their thing is no longer just their thing. And like, this is you can pull up articles about this. This is not any kind of absurd fantastic claim. This is just the way humans are. We're social creatures. And so when we have a little tribe, and now the thing that the tribe does, other people get to do, well, now I don't feel special anymore. It's not just me. And so sometimes those people lash out. And so it's just a matter of... Sorry, chat. It's just a matter of time before things get opened up. And at no point did anybody say most men. Nobody in any of the clips that he read said most men. There's the men who do this particular thing. This one doesn't even... This just says that there are women that there are examples of gatekeeping and prejudice against women. That's not even saying that men are the ones doing it. Women gatekeep women sometimes. Have you ever tried to be like... if you join a group of women and they're already... especially like in high school, and you try to join up with that group of women, if you don't walk in lockstep, you get shunned. Or if you're in a D&D group and there's one girl in that group, sometimes that one girl will feel very threatened by this other girl because they're the gamer girl. They're the ones that are the get along with all the guys. Who is this woman who's entering my territory? That's a thing that happens. It's very easily could be the case that there's a woman DMing for a group of men and other women want to join the game, and she gatekeeps that woman out with the exact example I laid out before. These are all things. These are not radical or bizarre. I'm gonna put this back a little because I think he said something else that I was like, hey, wait, what?
Evidence of quotes, videos, nothing. Please provide evidence. If you're going to paint the entire D&D community with this disgusting...
Right, that was it. If you're gonna paint the entire D&D community with this brush, nobody did that. You're the only one doing that. You're the one making these claims. You're the one who's saying, well, they must mean this. Meh.
Brush. You should... What's the quote? Fantastic claims require fantastic evidence. Something along those lines. Yet we see in 2,500 retweets and nearly 10,000 favorites, no evidence.
I don't think I believe him. That claim is sus. He went through, because here's the thing. Here's why this is sus. He said earlier that, oh, when I looked at this before, it had this, this, and this at the top, and now it doesn't have, so he must have blocked them or whatever. Nonsense. But now he's saying that in all these tweets and retweets and messages, nobody provided any evidence. But we know he hasn't looked at it all because of what he said over here about how it's changed. So how can he possibly be claiming that there's nobody provided any evidence? Can you also please tell me if you asked for any? Did you say, hey, person who's saying that there's lots of examples of this, do you have a link to some of those examples? Question mark? Did you ask? Did you? No? Or are you full of shit? I think you're full of shit. Nonsense. Absolutely nonsense. Okay, let's keep going.
Wizards of the Coast run surveys all the time, yet nobody's quoting them. Yet there's no actual scientific evidence of any of this.
Okay, so he's throwing this word scientific evidence out now. He's putting it out now. Instead of just evidence, he's saying scientific evidence. So what is scientific evidence, right? Or less so what actually is scientific evidence, and more, what does he mean when he says scientific evidence? Because apparently anecdotal or any kind of personal experience doesn't count, which is, when you're talking about sociology, is absurd. I would also question, he pulled out stats out of his ass at the beginning of this. He pulled numbers. He didn't reference any wizard sources for any of these surveys. Also, you're talking about asking for a survey to address something that a survey isn't really going to be very good at addressing. You might be able to find out like the number of players. You might be able to say, hey, do you play D&D, yes or no? So you might be able to get a rough estimate of how many women play D&D and how many men play D&D and what the percentages are. You could probably get pretty close. You could also probably get pretty close in who DMs more often. Are most DMs men? Are most DMs women? What the percentage is there. You might be able to get that. But you're not going to be able to get how many women were not able to play D&D because somebody gate kept them out. How would you even propose to write a survey like that? Like that's absurd. Res again for 100. Life funding. I think Res has sent me enough money this month to pay my rent alone. I'm not complaining. I appreciate having my rent paid. Exploratory Minds for 5 said, the hasn't even got the popular saying right among certain people. Is the saying is extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Yeah, he didn't even get it. I wasn't gonna pick on him for that, but you are correct. He did not get that right. So that's I don't know. If you, because he also doesn't propose what kind of survey. He just says, oh, well, wizards run surveys all the time, but he's asking, this is what we call a compounding problem. He took this tweet, he then twisted it to say this, and then he's making claims and complaining that you're not demonstrating something nobody said. But if you wanted to, can you please, somebody who supported this, somebody who agreed with this in the past 3 years, whatever 4K people liked your stupid video, could one of those people please, in the comment section, leave me a message of the proposition, what proposition that can you provide that of a survey? How would you do this survey to get accurate information based on like what you're trying to find out? You're trying to find out how many men specifically are gatekeeping women out of gaming using lore density and rule complexity as a way to do that. Oh, $50 sticker. Super effective. Oh, that's so cute. I've never seen that sticker. Oh my god, they're little eyes. He's a little controller. Oh, that's cute. Alright, let's listen to more of this moron. Well, I mean, okay. Moron from 3 years ago. I don't know if he's still stupid. I'm willing to wager, but I'm not. But I don't know. Oh, it's a picture of Puck. Yeah, Puck's over there now. Look at how not white his face is. He's behind me. I can't think. Can you guys move? There he is. Okay, let's keep going. I owe him a lot of boops. I will boop him. I'll call him over in a minute. Let's keep going. We're over halfway through now, so that's why I cut it down. He made some analogy about Squirrel Girl and Marvel Girl would sell more if SJWs bought comic books, and I was just like, what? How did you come to that conclusion? And it's because it matches his nonsense narrative about people are trying to enforce on things that they're not part of. It's nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
To which she replies, and you think that would be accurate? At your level of education, one would think you would know many women are unwilling to share their experiences, and how many men do you know would admit they do this?
Okay, so this is one of the things this person is pointing out, a problem with surveys and how you wouldn't really necessarily be able to garner that kind of information from surveys. You don't go around and say, hey, do you sexually assault women? Yes, no. And hand them a survey. Who's gonna put yes? Yeah, I mean, there might be there's gonna be people who are trolling and are just like, yeah, no, of course I do. And then there's gonna be people who say no, because no, of course not. And then there's gonna be people who don't understand that they have assaulted somebody, because that's a thing. There are people who will assault. I was reading a post by a woman yesterday that I posted on Twitter just because I thought what she had to say was interesting. And it was about how even when she has conversations with the men she's sleeping with that she does not like having her hair pulled or being choked during sex, she still gets her hair pulled and she still gets choked during sex. And so it's like, no, that can be considered assault. Like, this is not... There is also a gray area for men if women do and do not like being asked about doing stuff like that, right? So there's... You can not realize you're assaulting somebody because it's so normalized that you haven't considered it. One of the things is, like, there are men who will, like, slap a waitress's ass who think that that's acceptable. So that's assault. And so if you ask them a question saying, hey, you're at their home like a week and a half later, they don't even remember they did it, they're gonna put no on the survey. That's one of the problems with surveys. But just to be clear, I didn't have him reading it all out because he's kind of slow. So the person had responded with saying, I'm a PhD student. I see the world through numbers. That's why I asked for data. I get that you may have a different perception to the world. 1, that's condescending as hell. And 2, this is why people said, as a PhD student, how would you even begin to gather these numbers exactly? Through surveys. Wizards of the Coast run them regularly, and you think that would be accurate. At your level, you should know that surveys only take you so far, and you can't... Survey numbers would not be enough to counteract, even if you had survey numbers that were completely skewed in favor of this thing not happening, and you've got a stack of people saying it is happening, that means there's something wrong with your survey, not that these people are lying. Right? That something has gone on between point A and point B, right? Anyway, let's keep going.
So let me decode what Misty's saying here.
Please don't. Please don't.
Even if you have scientific evidence, even if you have empirical data, you should ignore that as a doctoral study and listen to anecdotal evidence. Now, I don't...
No. All right, tell you what, chat, you tell me. You tell me if his decoding of what this person was saying is anywhere close to what was actually said. I'll play it again. I will play it again.
Do you know would admit they...
Bleh. I'll play it again, and one in the chat if you think he's coded that correctly. And actually, tell you what, 269 in the chat if you think it was correct. 420 in the chat if you think he's high as hell and doesn't even know what he's reading anymore. Let's go.
And you think that would be accurate? At your level of education, one would think you would know many women are unwilling to share their experiences on how many men do you know would admit they do this. So let me decode what Misty's saying here.
Let me mansplain. All right, 69 in the chat if you think he decodes this correctly. 420 in the chat if you think this dude's high as hell and doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, keep going.
Even if you have scientific evidence, even if you have empirical data, you should ignore that as a doctoral study and listen to anecdotal evidence. Now, I don't know about you guys and gals out there, but if I went to my doctor, why are you so...
I cut that on purpose because fuck that analogy. So, yeah, looks like chat does not think you decoded that properly. I feel like I've explained exactly how you have not decoded that properly, but I want you to catch this right here. Listen very carefully.
You guys and gals out there. But if I went to my doctor...
He's talking about scientific evidence and surveys, and then going ahead and say about people's experiences and what people are saying, that a pattern that people are recognizing in their experience and in their opinion. Why? If I go to my doctor... Okay, first off, your analogy is way out of left field. Because he's going to go ahead and explain, oh, well, if I go to my doctor tells me that maybe he's heard that this thing will work instead of taking this vaccination. Dude, you are talking about something nobody else is talking about. You are so out in left field that you're playing an entirely different game by yourself in the corner. Like nobody else is having the conversation that you are purporting to have. Surveys are not good enough for doctors either. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but surveying crystals that cure your itchy balls and people saying, yeah, no, I got this JO crystal and my balls aren't itchy anymore, and you had a survey that a lot of people said that it did, that is not going to cause a doctor to prescribe you a JO crystal. It's not going to happen. And it would be problematic if it did. And now that analogy doesn't really work very well, does it? No, it doesn't. Don't use that analogy. It's bad. Also, don't get me started on medical malpractice when it comes to women having abdominal pain, which I'm sure this person has done a lot of reading up on. All right, let's keep going.
Why are you so offended by this personal statement, opinion, followed by a joke? Is it ringing true?
I just liked that person's comment, and I liked that he read it, because, yeah, why are you so upset? Why did you decide to take what this person said and twist it so far into oblivion that it just is completely meaningless at this point anymore? Is it because you're the kind of person who gatekeeps, and you maybe have
got a psychological problem with women? Got a psychological problem with women.
Maybe. All right. When I first listened to this video, I'm like, this dude's giving me some incel vibes. I had to like pause it and play it and pause it and play it before I got through it the first time. Once I had gotten through it the first time, I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm done being angry. Like, this kind of made me angry, and now I'm not angry anymore. And I need to laugh at this. Remember to get your JO crystals over at our merch store. Subscribe and join. It will save your itchy balls. Let's keep going.
She's saying, ignore the facts. Ignore the evidence. Listen and believe.
How do you take so much out of context? How do you get there? Please show me your work. Please give me a mathematic paper that shows me how you got, that's what you're into, right? You want scientific evidence. Can you please show your work? Show me where you got from point A to point B here, because it seems to me you think you've gone from point A to point B, but you're actually over on an entirely different alphabet. You're writing some kanji over here. You're not even anywhere. We have lost the plot. Why are you upset about this person's opinion? Is it because it's ringing true to you? How dare you say don't listen to evidence? Fucking what?
Misty clearly does not attend events like Gen Con like I do.
Got a psychological problem with
other
women.
people in this thread must.
Got a psychological problem with women.
Women are not being gatekept out of D&D.
I'm sure he talks to a lot of women to know about all of the women who don't get gatekept. It didn't even say, the original tweet didn't even say that women were getting gatekept. It just said people who gatekeep. I'm watching this and I feel like this guy has got a cork board. Like all the stuff that's in his background is actually just like a pull down green screen, and if you pull it up, it's just a cork board with wires and string going everywhere, and he's like, listen, it's the whammons. It's absolutely absurd. Okay, it's where was he? I'm sorry, I was too busy laughing at what he was saying that I got caught off of what he was saying. Got distracted.
Eve. Misty.
Oh yeah, he said that these people don't go to conventions like I do. Are you the guy at the convention that has to eat lunch alone? I don't... Obviously, women don't go to conventions. Obviously, this person that hasn't made any absurd claims or anything that I'm picking on their Twitter, it clearly has never been in a convention. This is just as bad as, oh, well, I'm gonna make up this person's entire work history because I looked at their LinkedIn page, which means I know exactly what's gone on within each company they worked at and how they got to the position they're in. Obviously, I know these things. I just make these ballsy-ass claims about nonsense that I just made up in my brain, even though I value evidence so much. I absolutely value so much. I'm so serious, super serial, guys, about all this evidence that I have that this person doesn't go to conventions like I do. Because going to conventions is what makes you a real Magic the Gathering player. Going to conventions is what means you're a real D&D player. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but hey, that's gatekeeping. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You're doing the thing that Mark Merrills is talking about. Gatekeeping. Dumbass.
Clearly does not attend events like Gen Con like I do. Like other people in this thread must. Because I'm sorry,
you only go to cons if you're a smirt person. There's no derm people at the cons. Helios for 5 says, quartering does mental gymnastics on par with a Q believer in 2021. It would be impressive if it wasn't so depressing. I go to war game shows and see a lot of women. From Jed, and Inkboy said, well, listen, Jed, if you don't have skirt pictures of all of those women, because they have to be wearing skirts if they're women, Pixar didn't happen. We don't believe you. Don't do that, by the way. Don't do that. Inkboy for 5, he is the guy who makes people around him hold their breath. Oof. Oof. Oof.
women are not being gatekept out of D&D.
Does he have any surveys for that? He says Wizards does surveys about this kind of stuff all the time. And he's saying that, oh, well, if you're making a claim, you need to provide evidence. He just made a claim. Women are not being gatekept out of D&D. Where's your survey, asshole? You've said these surveys exist. Where are they? Show me. Just a second. Okay, we're good. Sorry, I got a little lag spike. I don't know if it showed up for you guys, but it did for me. Okay, I think we're good. I think it was just like a little bit of a dip. Yeah, he wants numbers and then makes that kind of an absurd claim with no numbers and then makes number claims with nothing to back them up. He just pulled this out of his ass. I feel like 3.2k people disagreed with you. All right, here we go.
When he asked me to play, I didn't ask him how many girls were there. I didn't ask him how many guys were there. I said, hey, it's been a while since I've done a role play game. Can you explain the rules to me?
So because he didn't care as an individual, it means that nobody does. So I don't think he understands what gatekeeping is. Because that's not what gatekeeping is. You would gatekeep after you were already a part of the game when you knew who was there. I mean, I guess you could be so offended by a woman being there that you would need to know ahead of time. That's a thing. Some people just don't want to play role-playing games with other particular people. And to a degree, that's okay. I am not going to be offended if somebody doesn't want to play D&D with me. I also probably don't want to play D&D with somebody who doesn't like me. Probably. It probably wouldn't be the greatest experience. Outside of it might be fun to just, mess with somebody's the whole game. I mean, that might be kind of fun. But it sounds like it, for the most part, would be a waste of time. But I mean, when I was in high school, I hung around people who didn't like me once in a while because they insisted on hanging out with me. Like, I didn't go and search them out, but they would search out groups of people that I was hanging out with or would have friends in common, and that person would choose to come over and hang out while I was there, even though they didn't like me. So, I mean, I would mess with that person a little bit because it was fun. I didn't, do anything mean or rude. I would just take my normal annoying personality traits and make them more annoying. Because it was funny. But what he's describing isn't your personal experience does not dictate, or your personal experience doesn't mean that everybody has the same experience. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't think men are going to let you speak for all of them. There are men who don't like women. This is not a big deal. It can be problematic, yes, but it's not an extraordinary claim. There are women who don't like men. You brought them up earlier when you called all of them feminists. You said all feminists hate men. Want to talk about a broad brush? Nonsense. Helios makes a good point. Isn't the whole point at the beginning that women are being kept out of D&D, hence why it is 90% men? So what in the hell is this point now? Is he contradicting himself? Yes. Yes, the beginning of this video contradicts the second half of this video. Absolutely. You have noticed that flip over. So he danced around and has now flipped his point. He's brought up at the beginning that 90% of players were men, and now is saying that women can't be getting kept out of the game. When you have that much of a disparagement in a game that has absolutely nothing to do with what your gender is, there's probably a reason for it. And sometimes that reason is historical. Sometimes things get better over time. Sometimes games are made more accessible. And sometimes people are accepted more than they were in the past, and that includes the men who play. Men who played D&D in the past and got bullied for it shouldn't have been bullied for it. Play your game and have fun. It's nobody else's business. Let's keep going. I got serious there for a second. Let's see what other nonsense this is.
If, as you put it, a large portion of the gaming community were to simply stop buying your books.
It doesn't say large portion. This is another little flip that he does here. Funny how many of the same fans who insist on gatekeeping via rules complexity and lore density also have a problem with women in tabletop gaming. Hey guys, you're all fired from D&D, find another game. Where does that say quantity outside of funny how many of the same fans? That there is a 4-part removal from all D&D people. All people who play D&D. It's already talking about a specific group of individuals who have a problem with women and who use gatekeeping and lore density that use rules complexity and lore density to gatekeep. That's 2. People who are fans, and many of them and not all of them. So you can see where this complete twisting of what was said, it's awfully bold. It's awfully bold to get something that you were talking about and quoting, or purporting that this something says this, to be ballsy enough to have it on screen when that's obviously not what it says. Like, who are the 4.5k people who bought this bullshit? Is it the same people who were offended because that Misty account said? That person said that, hey, is this hitting home for you? Is that the people who are agreeing with this? Is it a little bit of confirmation bias for people who want to be justified to do this kind of thing? Maybe.
But a well-educated man like Mike Merrills, who clearly understands things like gender science and data with his geography degree.
Clearly, a guy who bitches on the internet has a lot to say about sociology with his what degree? Like, this is nonsense. This kind of irritated me, only because having a degree, he said earlier, I cut it out because it was a lot of rambling. He basically says that geography, having a degree in geography has nothing to do with game development, so why is he working in game development? He doesn't have the history for it. That's putting it a lot nicer than he did. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You might not know this as somebody so into Magic the Gathering, and maybe you're not into the lore, I don't know. But D&D has a lot of locations in it, has a lot of lore, has a lot of geography. In fact, more than one plane of geography. There's the material plane, there's the Feywild, there's the Shadowfell, there's the inner planes and the outer planes of existence, and all of those have geography. Oh my goodness. And it's almost like having a degree in something means that you can have an opinion whether you have the degree or not. Do I need to have a degree in game design to talk about game design? Do I need to have a job at Magic the Gathering to be allowed to talk about Magic the Gathering? Is somebody with a geography degree only allowed to have opinions about geography? What about a writing degree? Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, if I'm not mistaken, was popularized a lot by Christopher Hitchens. Christopher Hitchens was a writer, and he spent a lot of time talking about religion and theology. He didn't have a degree in theology, if I'm remembering correctly. Let me double check that, just in case. I might be wrong. Let me double check. Let's see. Let's see. Early life and education. His parents don't care. Journalistic career. Two independent schools. Admitted to Oxford. It was tutored by some people. Blah, blah, blah. Graduating with a third-class degree. What was the degree in, though? I like to get my things correct, so I don't want to be wrong about what his degrees were in. Because he didn't have a doctorate, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, his degree was not in theology. Yeah, philosophy, politics, and economics were his, according to Wikipedia. So, does that mean that he's not allowed to speak on anything that isn't economics and philosophy? What would that then qualify the quartering to speak on? I don't know what the quartering's degrees are. He seems to be speaking a lot for women. Are only a women allowed to speak for women? Or about women? Or about their experiences? Because this guy's basically saying, hey, all you women who feel like you're getting gatekeeped in all your stories and all that, yeah, that's all nonsense. You're not getting kept out. Yeah, that's not real scientific evidence. You ever hear of gaslighting? You ever hear of gatekeeping? That's what this guy is doing. And to say that, oh no, you have a bachelor's degree in geography, you can't do anything to do with video games. Video games, or tabletop games, do a lot with geography. There's a lot somebody can bring to the table with a geography degree or a degree in biology, or because it helps build the world. It helps make the world feel realistic. But you know, that guy didn't make any difference. The guy who helped design 5th edition, no, absolute nonsense. But yeah, Rez is correct. By his own logic, in order to justify his own video existing, the quartering would have to have a degree in social studies, gender studies, psychology, and game design. Correct. And anybody who's on YouTube talking about anything or doing anything would have to have a degree in it. All right, let's keep it. Oh, somebody asked what deck I played. I'm assuming you mean Magic the Gathering. I used to play when I played was mostly during Phyrexia, and I played an Infect deck because I loved my Infect deck. That was a lot of fun. I stopped playing when by the time, before the end of Innistrad, because I realized that Magic the Gathering is a pay-to-win game, and I got annoyed because I don't like pay-to-win games. All right, let's keep going.
Geography degree, both men and women who dedicate their time to things like D&D are not stupid. But Mike Merrill's...
Which is probably why 3.2k people showed up to your video to tell you how wrong you were, because nobody's stupid enough to fall for your nonsense. Except for the 4.5k people who upvoted this nonsense. Who are you? Why do you think that this is anywhere near accurate? You know what, it was 3 years ago. Maybe he's better. I don't know. This is just nonsense. I mean, he hasn't done anything to edit or take down the video, so, you know, it exists.
Thinks they are. He thinks women are stupid. He thinks women can't play D&D because the game is too complex. He apparently thinks that women don't play D&D because the lore is too dense.
None of that says that, but he repeats this a couple of times. Just to be clear, that's what this guy's takeaway was from that tweet.
I, on the other hand, think women are perfectly intelligent. They're just as smart as men, and if they were interested in Dungeons and Dragons, they would play it.
Out of that 90% that you pulled out of your ass? Yeah, okay. I am such an ally. Look at how much of an ally I am, as I completely ignore and degrade anybody who has had a personal experience or talks about a personal experience in a sociology setting that... And I just say their experience didn't happen. You're such a... You want to... Lying? Ideological lying? As I just take what this person said and just twist it. Like I said, this has just been twisted into oblivion.
Merrills, you're a disgusting human. You are not an ally of women. You are a sexist individual who thinks women are dumb. You think women are not as smart as men. You think the reason women don't play D&D is because they can't possibly comprehend the, as you put it, rules complexity and lore density. You, Mike Merrills, are ruining Wizards of the Coast. You are one of the first people that should go in this company. You offer no value. You have a terrible opinion of your customers, and you should be ashamed of yourself. The co-creator.
So yeah, that's where he leaves off. So it takes him 17 minutes to try and twist this to get to that conclusion. Nowhere is that what he says. Oh, and if you want to talk about business structuring and how to run a proper business, does the quartering have a business degree to be able to make this kind of assessment, or any internal information about how this company runs? I mean, he was pretty confident after looking at the one guy's LinkedIn profile that he knew exactly how he got to the position that he was in. Bruh.
Got a psychological problem with women.
You read so far into this to try and justify and ignore the problem that was being pointed out that you are the one who seems to have the problem here. Again, this is 3 years ago. Maybe you don't have this problem anymore. And if you don't have this problem anymore, I implore you, fix your shit, because this is still going out to people. This was recommended to me. This is a 3-year-old video got recommended to me because I've been watching other D&D streams that are way better than this. Things that are like the XP to level 3, who's fantastic. I haven't been watching too much Critical Role stuff lately, but Critical Role, amazing. Arcane Arcade, great, good, fantastic. There's a lot of Joe Cat. There's a lot of D&D stuff, and it has. You want to know how much any of that has to do with SJW stuff in the D&D community? 0, none. How much does the game have actually in its books about gender? 0, none. There is nothing. You have fake outrage over nonsense that you just made up in your own head because you don't like somebody saying that, hey, there are people in the D&D community that are douchey. Of course there are. That's not an extraordinary claim. There's people in every community that are douchey. That's because they're communities. As soon as you have more than like 10 people, you can't control whether or not somebody's going to be douchey or not. Dear God. Absolutely absurd. Your video's absurd. Your video's offensive to anybody with, who can rub 2 brain cells together. Ugh. Ugh. Anyway, that's enough of this guy. Get out of my face. Get out of here. Get out of here. Good. Go away. Anyway, this just irritated me and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. YouTube Shorts have been added, and I'm looking at making a little bit more D&D content using the Shorts just by doing like quick and brief explanations about D&D stuff. So like hit dice and sort of explaining those kinds of things. So if you're interested, make sure you like and subscribe. If you are interested in that time of the month where we talk about a little bit more from women's perspective stuff, feel free to also come to that because, well, whether we like it or not, we're women, so things come from that angle, and that's just sort of the way it is. I don't do a whole lot of gaming online, but sometimes I do, so if you're interested in that, also subscribe. Links down below. I need to give Puck a bunch of boobs. Hey, Puck! Come here. Come here. Come here. I didn't do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boobs. Alright, Puck got all of his boobs. Look at my rolly chair. Yeah, believe it or not, us women's aren't so bad most of the time. Some of the time we are, just like how most men aren't so bad most of the time. Stop being jerks about nothing. Puck got all his boobs. We'll have more D&D content to come. Oh, and if you guys see any of these kinds of videos or laying around, feel free to shoot them my way. Or if you have any questions about D&D or DMing or whatever. It says a self-purported DM, as if you need to have any kind of experience or there's any kind of standard at all to be a DM other than I have a book and I'm playing with people. Hell, you can do it without the book if you really wanted to. You can play it with some coins. This video was absolutely absurd. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did. I enjoyed it. I want to do more of these. This is fun as hell. But I'm gonna get out of here. Don't forget.
Got a psychological problem with women.
And I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.